Hello and welcome back to another Chatbot here on Robot Republic with me, Josh or Riku. Today I am joined by two very special guests because I'm here with Alireza and Fahriborz of Eternal Studios. Hello, gents.
Hi Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
I am Alireza. I am 22 years old and I'm a developer at Eternals Studio.
Marvelous. And
Yes. Hello. My name is Fahriborz, and I am a developer in Eternal Studio 2.
awesome. Thank you, guys. And thank you so much for coming on the show. It's so lovely to have you on. We're going to be talking today about your upcoming game, Sayfield Defense, which I'm quite excited to play when we get the ability to do that because it looks really, really cool. Can you start off by telling our wonderful viewership what Sayfield Defense is as a game, what it's about, etc.?
Of course, thank you. Sayfield Defense is a post-apocalyptic tower defense that we have been working on for at least 2 years now. I think it's the thing that actually sets this game apart from other games in tower defense genre is the ability that you can have FPS system integrated into the game. And we are really excited about talking about it.
Fabulous. And it does look really, really cool. Some of the stuff that I've
Thank
seen
you
on
very
social
much.
media and stuff, it looks really exciting. I'm not a tower defense person. I'm
Okay.
really, really bad at them. I don't think far enough ahead. I'm like, put all the things here, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, what if they get past the hit point? So having the ability to have that kind of that fallback of the first person shooter looks really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
it kind of prevents what, the kind of, the cock up cascade, as it were, when things start going badly, because you can go and actively intervene. Where did the inspiration for this come from? Because these are two very different styles of gameplay that you've merged into one.
Well, I think we really love the tower defense genre. We really played it a lot. But as you said, all of the tower defense games have this planning phase that you plan your tower defense and your strategies, and you wait for the waves to come, and you just wait and see, okay, how's it going? Like, do I have to like upgrade this tower, and do I do this? But we didn't think it was really fascinating to have those pauses between the games. So we wanted to fill that in. So we wanted to make the player feel more dynamic. So we made this FPS system into the game so we would fill those gaps and the player would actually plan the strategy line and place the towers. And then let's see, zombies are passing the line.
Yeah.
And then he would enter the FPS mode and it starts like targeting the zombies themselves. That was like our the idea and the design that we were looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And it's quite nice actually that you've got, as part of that thinking, it was we really like tower defense, but we wanted to think about how we can do tower defense in a different way. And
Yeah,
that kind of,
exactly.
because I always find tower defense games quite, you do all the planning and stuff and then you just sit back and watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Whereas it's quite nice to be able to put all the planning in place and then be actively involved in it.
Exactly.
Which is really, really nice. Were there any kind of like specific games or, specific games or types of games, series and stuff that were inspiration for Sayfield Defense?
There are some games that correlate with our games. For instance, Plants vs. Zombies and different defense elements and their effects in the game. That was something that we tried to implement into our game, Sayfield Defense. A lot of another game that I would pick as an inspiration would be Swamp. I don't know if you play it or not, but as a defense game, it has a really unique dynamic and action into the game. So yeah, I would pick Plants vs Zombies and Swamp as the two source of inspiration for
Wow,
our game.
that's really awesome as well. And actually two different types of play style as well.
Yeah,
Actually,
exactly.
similar type of game, but different types of playstyle and stuff, which is really, really cool. Actually,
Exactly.
I've not played Swamp, but I know people who have, and they've kind of, I've seen them playing and stuff, and it looks really, really cool. Awesome. So obviously we've got two very, very different forms of gameplay with the tower defense mechanics and the tower defense kind of stuff, and then the first person shooter. How are you or how did you kind of come up with that that initial idea of a tower defense FPS game? Where did that go? We talked about the inspiration, but where did this idea, did you kind of go tower defense? Yes, because we want to make a tower defense game. Thinking about what are we going to do for the active player part, where did the FPS bit come into this? Was this when you were starting to think about narrative and world building, or was it more of an earlier point?
I would say we played the game when we first designed the game. It was a tower defense, and as I said, we thought like we could make it even better. So we implemented the shooting system in the game, but it was all in the same mode with one perspective and one camera from the top. So the players would just select the base of the stage that he was supposed to protect, and then a shooting mechanism would pop up, and he could like start shooting. Like he would like would hold his left click and start shooting at the zombies. But after some testing, we were like, this is not really working. That the shooting is not really that interesting. So we completely set this mode apart. So we were like had a one mode for just managing the towers from the top, and the other mode, which is FPS, completely different from the first mode, and the players could change their view by pressing, for example, a button, for example, F. They would press F and they would just switch from one view to the other view, and from the tower view, they could just manage the towers, build them, upgrade them. But in the FPS view, they could shoot the targets and zombies. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, actually. And it's quite nice. I mean, we're going to delve into, in a minute, we're going to delve a little bit deeper into kind of the opportunity to switch between the two play modes, but it's a really cool way of approaching it, actually, that if someone wants to be just on the tower defense mode, they can take that seat back. And then if they're like, oh no, it's all gone a bit sideways, they can then jump into the FPS mode, which is it's a nice way of kind of like balancing the kind of that active and the passive gameplay, which is quite nice. While we're on the subject of the kind of the two different forms of gameplay in the game, how are you managing to kind of balance them? Because they're very different approaches to play style. From a broad perspective, from a kind of like a specific way you're programming it and stuff, I can imagine it's not too dissimilar programming the towers versus programming the kind of FPS bits in terms of the damage output and all the kind of other things. But how are you managing to balance the two so that maybe the FPS thing is still still kind of like necessary at points, or the towers aren't too overpowered and whatnot?
Well, we knew we had to push players to use our FPS systems, because like when you're placing towers, as you said, it's like easy to just place some towers, just watch the waves. So we want to balance the game in a way that it's always necessary for the players to go to FPS mode. Like the waves we put in the game, the number of zombies, the path they take, we always gonna make sure that the towers themselves are not gonna kill all the zombies, and you have to go to FPS mode and use your powers in order to win that level. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool, actually, and quite a nice way of kind of leveling out, actually, and kind of keeping everything nice and balanced. Actually, it's a really, really interesting way of
like every time like we are making a level, we're like, this is good for just towers, but how can we push the players to use FPS? So now let's do this, let's do that, and then like players have to go to the FPS system to beat the zombies. Yeah,
you've got kind of like, here are your two choke points, but if anything gets past those choke points, then you're going to need to get actively involved.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really nice, actually, and actually quite a dynamic and exciting way of approaching tower defense games as well. Because the handful I've played, I don't play many tower defense games because I suck at them, but being able to kind of like that whole sitting back and just waiting for things to happen, I find, but I like playing a game. I don't like watching a game.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's that kind of like that being, and then I kind of with the time, especially if it's a long round, you just kind of sit there and go, oh, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea then while this is happening. It's a really, really nice way to kind of like make it more exciting for the players, actually. So you touched on this a little bit a couple of minutes ago, but do the players kind of have the opportunity to bounce between the two modes? So like once you hit FPS mode, can you go, if you've got like a handful, a gaggle of zombies that have kind of got through, can you run in, mow them down, run back out, and then switch back to tower defense mode? Or is it a case of once you're in FPS mode, that's it, you're stuck in it?
Yeah, exactly. Player can go back and forth too many times. It's just a matter of pressing a click of button.
That must be so
Yeah,
nice because it allows reactionary gameplay.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's what I like about this is it allows that reactionary gameplay. So you can do the proactive, you can do the building, the tower defense, the building of the towers, the kind of fortifying everything. And then the second it all goes absolutely sideways, you can switch and be reactive and you can run in and you can start shooting, which is really,
yeah.
really cool. Nice. I like
That's
that. And
exactly.
then once you've cleared the zombies, you can just go back and watch.
Yeah, exactly.
You can go make that cup of tea. Fabulous.
Maybe
I don't
not.
think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
A little bit optimistic. We'll have to try it on the channel at some point when the game comes out. I'll have to try it and see if I can make a cup of tea and come back and not have lost.
We're not gonna let you make a cup of coffee. No, Josh. No, there is no way.
That's
See, now
against
I
our
feel like I've been
prophecy.
challenged to this. I feel like you've challenged me to this now. So, when the game comes out, let us know because we'll grab a copy and we'll put this to a test. It will be a disaster on my part. The other thing I want to talk about while we're talking about kind of like the tower defense mechanics and everything else is you've got some really, really exciting and interesting level design stuff within the game. The bits that we've kind of seen on social media, on your Twitter and your YouTube, both of which the links are down in the description. So go and hit those up at the end of the video. Some of the level design is really, really interesting. How did you approach that level design with this kind of idea that we know that we're going to have the tower defense mechanics, but we're also going to have the first person shooter mechanics? Did that adjust how you approach the level design, or was it we know we're going to design a tower defense game and then we're just going to tag on the first person shooter? Like, was it all embedded from the start, or did you kind of tweak and stuff as you go?
Well, actually, at first, as I said, we didn't know we want to integrate a FPS system into the tower defense. So we just made the level design in a way to just it's good for tower defense, right? From the top view. But after some time that we wanted to make the FPS actually work, we had to change every level design that we had before in order to make the game possible in FPS system. So we just imagine the game was from the top and the level design was just this. And now we have an FPS system that camera shifts. Now all of this empty space that we hadn't designed before, now we have to redesign everything from scratch. So now we have a fully stage that like works the best for our game.
But that's brilliant. That must have taken so much time as well to kind of
Yeah,
have those
exactly.
initial level design is a task.
Yeah, it's really something.
It is not everyone. Like, I've seen some people on kind of like Reddit and like some Discord servers I'm in there just like, oh, level design's not that hard. I bet I could throw a level together easy. I'm like, you probably could throw it to get a level together easily, but it won't be a very good level. It will just be a basic town. Because and it's God, that must have taken ages as well. You must have so many draft diagrams and drawings of where things are going to go and how things are coming in and everything else. It's just boggles the mind.
Exactly. I remember some days Alireza after some level design lay off the ground, and I asked him why you are laying on the ground. He said, I'm really dizzy, and it's really I have a headache right now because it's really hard to put all these objects around and make them look good in two different views. And Alireza had the really hard challenging job.
Josh, if you like have had any experience with like level design, I don't know if you're like this or not, but like I'm get very dizzy. It's like this view is just changing all the time, like rotating this way, this way.
It's
really hard.
The bit that I despise when you're approaching level design is trying to if you're so like your game's post-apocalyptic, and I've done some kind of like small projects where I've kind of created like post-apocalyptic cities. It's trying to give that view of having this post-apocalyptic city, and the worst bit is when you're trying to angle a building to make it look like it's fallen into another one. That is quite possibly the most trying to create that environmental storytelling in level design is so painful at times. It takes so long.
Like level design, like as I said, if you want to do it right, it's gonna take so much time. So much time.
God, yeah. While we're thinking about the level design, then, we've touched upon the kind of like this visual storytelling stuff a moment ago, but kind of how important was it to the game? Because there is some really, really good visual storytelling, kind of in the stuff that we've seen so far. How important was that aspect to actually use the game world for that form of visual storytelling?
Like, I think if you take any other method or like procedure like than this, your game is gonna like not gonna be successful. Like if you have a like, post-apocalyptic game, everything in your game should be post-apocalyptic. Like everything from the assets, from like even animations, they have to have that feel, and sound effects, design, like music, sound, everything has to have that feeling. And we really try to make the game as apocalyptic as possible, especially with weather conditions. So we would like implement dust storms in the game. So we would just give the player that feel of, yeah, that's the end of the world. Like things are not looking good. Like as post-processing was a very challenging as well. Like we wanted to give that different colors, like maybe like orange or maybe blue that represents end of the world. And to implement all of those things into apocalyptic was a thing that was really important to our game.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like you said there, if you're doing something that's post-apocalyptic, it needs to feel
Exactly.
post-apocalyptic. You can't enter a post-apocalyptic game and it all look absolutely fine, because that's quite jarring to the player. And that's like, well, this isn't. Like, I think there was some time ago, and I shan't name the game, but there was a game that claimed to be post-apocalyptic, and you booted it up and everything was absolutely fine, and it was like a sterile environment. And it was like, what sort of post-apocalypse was this?
Yeah, you have to have like buildings crashing into each other, right? You have to, like, there's no other way.
You need to have this kind of, this visual element of there has been absolute chaos before this point. Otherwise, it's like, is it really post-apocalyptic? So the game then has it's got a really, really nice, unique art style. Where did that stylistic approach and the ideas for that stylization come from?
Well, as we said before, we are a small indie team, but and we had a lot of problems actually with art style. I think it's one of the most important aspects of the game. So we used quite a bit of pre-made assets into our game. So because it helped us at first a lot to just get that art style fixed, and then of course not every pack is like full, like it's not everything you need. So we had to do a lot of design ourselves. So towers, unique power-ups, a lot of assets that were unique to Sayfield Defense were actually made by ourselves, but that art style came from a good amount of the packs and assets that we used and get. Yeah,
awesome. That's really cool. And actually the fact as well that you've managed to, from those asset packs, you've managed to draw together a really interesting and unique stylistic approach to the game, I think is, to be celebrated, honestly, because it's really, really cool. Because you get different asset packs. It could be quite difficult to find asset packs that match and stuff, and actually to find asset packs and then draw those together to create a stylistic approach to a game is really, really cool. So yeah, awesome.
Yeah, like you would just example, like you just, as you said, you would get a model, but the textures are not the same. But you take the texture and the model is not the same, so you have to, like, if you get a model, you have to retexture it yourself. Like, yeah, it's like a process,
and that's time consuming as hell.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
if you made the assets yourself, it would take like, I think, less time. Sometimes it would take less time to just make the asset yourself.
I can. If I made these myself, it would take less time than having to remap all of these onto this model. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
So obviously, this is a tower defense game, and it's also got first-person shooter elements to it. So something that I'm really interested about, and obviously you can be as vague or as specific as you want with this one, but how many varieties of weapons and abilities are going to be available to players in the game? Because that's one of the things that I always remember from tower defense games is they've got a decent spread of kind of things. And now that you've also got a first-person shooter, I'm kind of imagining a nice selection of towers and then a nice selection of weapons as well. So how many are available?
Number of towers are currently at 8. We have 8 unique towers that every one of them has a different mechanism, and you would definitely feel to use every single one of them in the game. So we wanted to didn't want players to just abuse one tower. With some tower defense game, we just place that tower like throughout all of the game, and levels you just spin. So we wanted to make the game and balance the game in a way that you would use every tower and to make sure to upgrade them. Yeah,
That must have taken so long.
yeah, we actually started with I think 5 towers, but actually after we started to showing our game to the public and other game days, we see the need to upgrade the number of the towers to make it more dynamic. And the
definitely.
number of the guns, it's 6 currently. You can have 6 guns. And this one as well, it was like 3 at first, but we had to model some new guns and make some new ones. We also didn't want to just have regular guns. We at first had pistol and AK and shotgun, but we made a nail gun, a disc launcher, and a flamethrower as well to make that apocalyptic feel, that not just plain guns, like new interesting guns. Yeah,
I like the post-apocalyptic feel with the nail gun and the disc launcher. It's that feels very kind of like yeah.
It's end of the board,
Yeah, love it, absolutely love it. Yeah. Follow-up question to that then: do either of you have a particular favorite tower or a particular favorite weapon in the game from all of the testing that you've been doing with them?
I would take Tesla as a tactical power, and nail gun and flamethrower as a weapon, and there is a sun tower in a towers collection that I would pick as my favorite.
Nice. Oh, that sounds really cool. I want to play it now.
If you haven't even talked about tactical powers, when you're in the tower mode, like when you're on top, you can manage towers, and there's a list on the list of UI down the screen that has 11 tactical powers like mines, Tesla powers, nukes, and these power-ups that can help the player like stop the zombies. So in the game, there are 3 things you can do actually, like can place towers, go in the FPS mode and start shooting, and also place down tactical powers, like to just have more dynamic and more better action and gameplay.
Yeah, that's cool. I know I knew about the nuke one because I think you shared that on your Twitter a few weeks back, and I was like, oh, but that's going to be the last ability you're allowed to have.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I really hope it's called something like the oh dear button or the oh no button.
Oh no button. That's a good name.
Yeah, we're gonna just everything's gone absolutely sideways.
Write that in the description, Oh no button.
Oh, I love it. And I've contributed to a game. What a great chatbot this has been. My next question is, so I've noticed kind of like, during your kind of like dev diaries and stuff that you put up on YouTube, which is really, really cool. You're quite keen to get feedback, and you mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. You're quite keen to get feedback from gamers, from people that are in the industry, be it kind of like big quote unquote studios or other indie devs. How has that this is a 2-pronged question. Firstly, how has it kind of been used during the development of the game? And then secondly, how important is it for you to kind of, be able to get this feedback while you're developing the game?
When we first actually was making the game, like we didn't know anything. Like it's like obvious. Before, like game development is like you will make the game and we just go to Steam, launch, and then that's it. That's like all of the game dev is. And then we started to see, wow, there is a part that is called marketing and promoting your game. And it was like, okay, we're gonna post some stuff about our game. We're gonna show how our game is. And when we first started, we didn't like get any. Of course, no one would like know our game. No one knew what our game was. And the good thing was actually that people come and started to give us feedback. Some of them were very positive, but some of them were actually very negative. And it's really hard to deal with these ones. But I think if we took the right path to listen to those negative ones, and as I said, like maybe redesign some of the fundamental elements of our game, like the shooting system, as I said, was from the above, and we didn't see any interest in that. So we redesigned the whole game and changed it to FPS. and like due to that we had to change our level design, and like all of these things had to change. So I think it's really important for every game dev to just post about their game and not be afraid of it, because it's something that you're gonna have to do at the end of it. Like you're gonna have to do it. So yeah, and I think it really helped us a lot to find a game that I think it is now very, way more balanced than what it's used to be like maybe a year ago. Yeah.
God, that's awesome. And actually, like you say, it's kind of a lot of. I mean, this is true of the AAA industry as well. This is kind of like right the way through. But the AAA industry just they don't generally listen to people. They put out a trailer, and they're like, "Look at our game," and we all sit there and go, "Well, it looks terrible. Can you change these things, please?" And they're like, "No, we know better than you. We're the AAA industry. We're printing money at this point." But I think you've hit a really important thing on the head there. That actually listening to your community, and and again, that kind of obviously, I mean, when you ask for feedback for things, you are going to get people that are like, "Oh, this is crap."
Yeah. Exactly.
Which is, but that just goes, all right, fine, you didn't like it, next, move on. But then someone who's like, actually, I found this weapon was a little bit overpowered, and this weapon did literally nothing. You then sit there and go, that's really useful feedback. That's stuff that we need to go and address.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's like the thing that is really important, to know which feedback to listen to is really important. Like you have to draw the line somewhere. Like this guy is being mean, but this guy is being mean, but he's also trying to help the game, That's like really important.
Yeah. That person's just being a dick. That person, however, is being constructively a dick, which is what we prefer.
Exactly.
They had a great time on Reddit as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Like in every indie game, I think in Reddit has like a whole new experience of getting responded to. Like it was really a challenge in Reddit as well. Like people are very like, they say whatever they want. Like they don't care at all. Like this game is like so bad. Yeah. Exactly.
No filter at all. I was gonna say, I noticed this quite a bit on Twitter actually more recently. A lot more people have been a lot more blunt with people's responses. Like there used to be a time when Twitter was a wonderful place for indie devs, and people would be like, I really liked this, maybe change that. Now people are just like, it was terrible, this is broken, fix it. And it's like, when did Twitter turn into Reddit?
Oh, it's a bad society we live in.
It is indeed. I got two more questions before we wrap up. If you're of our viewership, if you are a long-time fan of Chatbot, you know exactly what these are before I even asked them, because I asked them to everyone. But my first one of my final two questions is, what have been some of the biggest challenges during the development of Sayfield Defense?
Every part of the game, I think, has a unique problem, and it needs a unique answer. But when we change the game and make two modes for the game, one FPS mode, one strategy mode, the whole there was a new problem, and difficulties came to us. Because we had two cameras, and two different view, and every one of them has have to be at the right angle and point at the correct game objects. And since we have two cameras, the size of the level expanded too much bigger. And this really costs FPS for us, and we have a hard time for optimizing our game. We spend a lot of time to optimize the game, implement different tactics to lower the cost of the rendering of the game objects. Yeah, so I think FPS optimization was one of the biggest, and it is yet we didn't solve it yet. At some point of the game, we had some spark in our FPS, but we are trying to make a consistent FPS for our game.
Wow, that's really cool. And I think a lot of people kind of when I ask this question, one of the biggest things I always get is like the marketing. The marketing has been like the biggest challenge and stuff. Not many people actually talk about the technicalities of it. The optimization is a task in and of itself, and you can spend hours doing optimization, and then you hit that build button, and then you test it, and you're like, well, that didn't work. Yeah,
Exactly.
no, it is.
But like, if we wanted to talk about anything more than I think optimization, we would choose marketing as well because, oh my God, as an indie dev, it's this nightmare. It's really
There are
nightmare.
so
Like
many
if
indie games.
very like I think there was a statistics that I think every day I don't know 600 games get published this Steam, like something like that. I was like, oh my God, how are we going to find our like players? This is so hard, and
Yeah.
especially if you're a small team, like maybe like you're two, or there are some psychopaths who made a game like alone. It is really hard to both make a game and also market it. Like it is really difficult, really difficult. Yeah, we would choose marketing, I think, after optimization. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, definitely. My final question then is, what is next, both in terms of Sayfield Defense and at this particular point? I can imagine the answer is probably maybe, but we'll see how this one goes. But do you have any kind of ideas for any future projects at Eternal Studios?
I think you said it. We're just waiting for see how this one goes. Yeah, like I would say everything actually relies on this game. If we see the reaction of the players is very positive, we are planning to maybe even make this game for iOS or maybe Android platforms. But after that, I think we really want to make a narrative FPS game. Like
Yeah.
it is really something that we want to do. It's like a dream, like make a FPS game that is very narrative based with good audio, music, and everything is like, of course, very good. Yeah, maybe we're waiting to see how this one goes, and then after that,
Oh,
we plan
that sounds
something.
brilliant.
Yeah,
That sounds really, really
thanks.
cool. And I do genuinely hope that this goes really well. I know that we've got, there is one of our team members, Marcus, loves strategy games, loves tactical games, loves a tower defense game. And I know for a fact that when this game drops, our lovely Marcus will be like, oh my God, yes, another tower defense game. We refer to these, any form of like tactical strategy tower defense games, we refer to them as a Marcus game. Because he loves these type of games. And yeah, and we're going to be keeping a close eye on it because this does look like a really, really, really good game.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alireza, Fahriborz, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if you are interested and you want to provide these wonderful people some lovely support for their game, which looks really, really cool, do check out their Twitter and YouTube links, which are down below in the bio of this video. Gents, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Josh, for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And if you liked this video, like I said, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to Robot Republic and hit that bell icon so you get notified of all of our new videos. But yes, thank you very much, gents. And thank you to everyone for watching. And we'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.